We're going to start at Exodus, the 20th chapter, verses 1 through 17. Okay, Jane.
And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, until the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day, and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land, which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's.
Now we're going to Ecclesiastes, the 12th chapter, and read verses 13 and 14. Go ahead.
Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil.
Now let's go to Revelation chapter 22, verses 14 and 15. Go ahead.
Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life, and may enter in through the gates into the city. For without are dogs and sorcerers and whoremongers and murderers and idolaters, and whosoever loveth and maketh the lie.
Well, I'd like to thank Brother James for reading the law, because the law need to be read every Sabbath, because in these days people have forgotten about the law and they think the commandments mean nothing anymore. Now, before we get into the lesson, I'd like to give a shout out to a couple of people, to Brother Clinton Patterson in Guyana, Sister Madeline Joseph in Trinidad, also Marlies and Erica in Switzerland, Jane and Chanel in South Africa, Sean and Chanel in South Africa, Brother Mwihi in Wales, United Kingdom, Sister Mbugwe in Dubai, Sister Gargo in New Jersey, also the sisters and brothers in Glasgow, Scotland, Manchester, England, Isles of Wight, England, and also Brother and Sister Coles in Australia, and my sisters in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Also, I want to give a shout out to Brother Robert Rowe and his family in Okinawa, Japan. Also, I want to give a shout out to the sisters and brothers in Bulgaria, and also to Brother Trevor Sancho. Now, we're going to get right to the lesson, sisters and brothers. This lesson is titled, From the Tabernacle of the Congregation to the Temple of God. From the Tabernacle of the Congregation to the Temple of God. When the Lord came and brought Israel into the wilderness, and he brought them, sisters and brothers, out of captivity, he wanted them to build him a tabernacle because he wanted to dwell among the children of Israel. It's always been God's desire to dwell among his creation. So when he brought them out, he gave them some directives. We're going to pick this up in Exodus, the 25th chapter. Exodus chapter 25, because the Lord wanted them to build him something that he would be among them. We're going to start at verse 1. Exodus 25 and verse 1. Okay, go ahead.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, that they bring me an offering. Of every man that giveth it willingly with his heart, ye shall take my offering.
Okay, he wanted everybody to bring an offering because he need this offering because he looked to man to build him a tabernacle. Skip down to verse 8 and go ahead.
And let them make me a sanctuary, that I may dwell among them.
See, people look at that and say, well, God didn't really look, we read what the book said. He said that I may dwell among them.
That's right.
So we are going to roll with that, as the young people say. Go ahead and read.
According to all that I show thee, after the pattern of the tabernacle, and the pattern of all the instruments thereof, even so shall ye make it.
So he just couldn't make him something that you wanted to do. You had to make it exactly the way he wanted it.
That's right.
Go ahead.
And they shall make an ark of shittim wood. 2 cubits and a half shall be the length thereof, and a cubit and a half the breadth thereof, and a cubit and a half the height thereof.
Now, this is the Ark of the Covenant that we're talking about. So he wants you to make it just like he said make it. You can't make it any other way, sisters and brothers. See, these are things with God. God requires you to do things just like he wanted. Skip down to verse 17. Verse 17 and go ahead.
And thou shalt make a mercy seat of pure gold. 2 cubits and a half shall be the length thereof.
Go ahead.
And a cubit and a half the breadth thereof.
Now this mercy seat represents the place where the Lord's going to sit when he's sitting down and showing mercy to his creation. Right there, he wants that to be put in the tabernacle. Go ahead and read.
And thou shalt make 2 cherubims of gold. Of beaten work shalt thou make them, in the 2 ends of the mercy seat.
Go ahead.
And make 1 cherub on the one end, and the other cherub on the other end. Even of the mercy seat shall ye make the cherubims on the 2 ends thereof.
Now these cherubim are the cherubims that he put around him in the Garden of Eden, sisters and brothers, to keep the way of the tree of life. So now every time he show up or whatever represent him, these cherubs are always there to let this man know you still don't have access to the tree of life until I give it to you. Go ahead and read.
And the cherubim shall stretch forth their wings on high, covering the mercy seat with their wings. And their faces shall look one to another. Toward the mercy seat shall the faces of the cherubims be.
Go ahead.
And thou shalt put the mercy seat above upon the ark. And in the ark thou shalt put the testimony that I shall give thee.
So this mercy seat is going to be set on top of the Ark of the Covenant. So the Lord that's where he's going to dwell. Go ahead and read.
And there I will meet with thee, and I will commune with thee from above the mercy seat, from between the 2 cherubims, which are upon the ark of the testimony of all things which I will give thee in commandment unto the children of Israel.
See, this started with Moses in the mountain, sisters and brothers, but then once they built that tabernacle and put the mercy seat and everything, God said, then from there I'm going to communicate with you. Right there in the midst of Israel, of the people of Israel. Let's go into Exodus, the 26th chapter. Exodus chapter 26 and verse 1. Go ahead and read it.
Moreover, thou shalt make the tabernacle with 10 curtains of fine twined linen, and blue, and purple, and scarlet. With cherubims of cunning work shalt thou make them.
Now skip down to verse 30. Verse 30. And go ahead.
And thou shalt rear up the tabernacle according to the fashion thereof, which was showed thee in the mount. And thou shalt make a veil of blue, and purple, and scarlet, and fine twined linen of cunning work. With cherubim shall it be made.
See, Moses was in the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights. It didn't take God 40 days and 40 nights to just write the 10 commandments on the stone. He told Moses a whole lot of things while he was in the mountain. And one of the things that he told, among the things that he told Moses, was he gave him the pattern of this tabernacle that he wanted them to build so he could dwell among them. So he just didn't receive the 10 commandments. He received a whole lot of other stuff that God wanted him to do. Go ahead and read.
And thou shalt hang it upon 4 pillars of shittim wood overlaid with gold. Their hooks shall be of gold upon the 4 sockets of silver. And thou shalt hang up the veil under the taches, that thou mayest bring in thither within the veil the ark of the testimony.
Now this veil, they're going to build this tabernacle of this big tent, and this veil is going to be in the middle of it. On the front side where the priests go every day is called the holy place, and behind the veil is called the most holy place. And that represents the Lord's sanctuary, his throne room where he's going to be. What verse are we?
We're at the middle of 33.
Go ahead.
And the veil shall divide unto you between the holy place and the most holy. And thou shalt put the mercy seat upon the ark of the testimony in the most holy place.
So this mercy seat that's on top of the ark of the testimony where the Lord is going to be seated at, that's where you put the mercy seat, in the most holy place. Now let's go into the 30th chapter of Exodus. Exodus, the 30th chapter. But you imagine in your mind now, you got this tabernacle, this big tent that's built, and it's got a veil that separates the tent. And in the front of the veil is where you do where the priests come in and do the daily sacrifice. But behind the veil is where the Lord sits. And that's represent when you stand before that veil, you standing before the Lord and you talking to him and you making sacrifices and oblation to him, and he's going to give your commandments from behind that veil. 30:1. Go ahead and read.
And thou shalt make an altar to burn incense upon. Of shittim wood shalt thou make it.
Now you're going to make an altar now that you're going to burn incense on. Go ahead and read.
A cubit shall be of the length thereof, and a cubit the breadth thereof. 4 squares shall it be, and 2 cubits shall be the height thereof. The horns thereof shall be of the same.
Now that's outside the veil, but go ahead and read.
And thou shalt overlay it with pure gold, the top thereof and the sides thereof round about, and the horns thereof. And thou shalt make unto it a crown of gold round about.
Now skip down to verse 6 and go ahead.
And thou shalt put it before the veil that is by the ark of the testimony, before the mercy seat that is over the testimony.
Now that's before the veil. That's on the outside. Go ahead.
Where I will meet with thee. And Aaron shall burn thereon sweet incense every morning. When he dresseth the lamps, he shall burn incense upon it.
So every morning he had to burn incense upon that veil. Go ahead and read.
And when Aaron lighteth the lamps at evening, he shall burn incense upon it, a perpetual incense before the Lord throughout your generations.
Now, this incense represents the incense that the angel is going to pour out with the prayers of the saints, sisters and brothers, in the day of the Lord's wrath. Let's go and look at it. Let's go into Revelation, the 8th chapter. The same, but this, the Lord is letting us know what's going to happen when he comes and how he is going to operate and what he's going to dwell in. Revelation, the 8th chapter, and we're going to start reading at verse 1. The Lord had Moses lay all this out. So everything that Moses laid out, that is what we're going to see the like of it anyway when the Lord come and set his kingdom upon this earth. Revelation chapter 8, and we're going to start reading at verse 1. Revelation chapter 8 and 1. Because this incense that's poured out, that represents the incense that the Lord is going to pour out when he get ready to bring this wrath upon this earth. Because God got a lot of wrath he's going to bring on this earth.
That's right.
Revelation 8 and 1. Go ahead and read.
And when he had opened the 7th seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour. And I saw the 7 angels which stood before God, and to them were given 7 trumpets. And
now these 7 angels with these 7 trumpets, these trumpets are going to blow and announce the wrath of the Lord that he's going to bring on this earth. So these angels given 7 trumpets. Go ahead and read.
And another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer. And there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all saints upon the golden altar which was before the throne.
So this is the way Moses had set it up in the tabernacle. You got the holy place where the Lord dwelled, and you had the curtain there. Then you had the altar of incense, where Aaron offered incense. But in this case, Aaron is representing this angel that's going to offer this incense before the Lord with the prayers of the saints. Go ahead and read.
And the smoke of the incense, which came with the prayers of the saints, ascended up before God out of the angel's hand.
So I just want to let you know, when he put the tabernacle together, and he put the mercy seat there behind the veil, and also the Ark of the Covenant, also before the veil, which is still before the Lord, he had his incense. All of this that Aaron's going to pour the incense out, all of this represent the kingdom of Jesus when he come and set his kingdom up on his earth, sisters and brothers. All of this, and the Lord showed all of this to Moses while he was in the mountain. Now Moses is related to the people that's going to make it come to pass. Now let's go back to Exodus, the 40th chapter. Just letting you know that all this you see represent what is to come. That's why the Lord says surely he would do nothing but reveal his secret to his prophets.
That's right.
So we know what the Lord is going to do. That's why we don't have to deal with no brand new doctrine that come on the scene, because the Lord has already called the end from the beginning, because he laid it all out. Now we're reading about what's going to happen, what the Lord has given us a glimpse of what's going to happen in the future. Now we're going to start at verse 1, Exodus 40 and 1. Go ahead and read.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, the first day of the first month shalt thou set up the tabernacle of the tent of the congregation. And thou shalt put therein the ark of the testimony, and cover the ark with the veil.
Go ahead.
And thou shalt bring in the table, and set in order the things that are to be set in order upon it. And thou shalt bring in the candlestick, and light the lamps thereof. And thou shalt set the altar of gold for the incense before the ark of the testimony, and put the hanging of the door to the tabernacle.
Now he's telling this is, and he's reiterating all of it, how you're going to do all of this stuff, because the Lord wanted just like Moses, want Moses to do it just like he showed him in the mountain, because once he comes, we're going to see the real thing that this was a pattern of. Skip down to verse 16 and go ahead.
Thus did Moses, according to all that the Lord commanded him, so did he. And it came to pass in the first month, in the second year, on the first day of the month, that the tabernacle was reared up. And Moses reared up the tabernacle and fastened his sockets, and set up the boards thereof, and put in the bars thereof, and reared up his pillars.
So now I had put it all together like the Lord said, so they raised up the tabernacle and put it all together. Go ahead and read.
And he spread abroad the tent over the tabernacle, and put the covering of the tent above upon it, as the Lord commanded Moses.
So he did. The Lord told him what to do, and Moses did it exactly. That's why I hear people always talking about the laws of Moses. Moses didn't have no law. It was all the law of God. Skip down to verse 34. Verse 34 and go ahead.
Then the cloud covered the tent of the congregation, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle.
So now once Moses got through building it and had everything in place, then the Lord was in the cloud, and that cloud came down, and the Lord was in the tabernacle. That's why it said here, and the cloud that covered it, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. He was there, sisters and brothers.
He was.
But people don't like to read exactly what it said. They just can't believe it. No, the Lord is in heaven. No, he was there. Go ahead and read.
And Moses was not able to enter into the tent of the congregation, because the cloud abode thereon, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle.
Moses couldn't go in because the Lord was in it. Go ahead and read.
And when the cloud was taken up from over the tabernacle, the children of Israel went onward in all their journeys.
So that's what happened. Once they got the tabernacle built, then every time that the Lord wanted Israel to move, the Levites would have to come in and take that tabernacle down and fold everything and put it the way put it together orderly, and then they would travel. And when the Lord got ready for them to stop, that cloud would stop. And then Moses and the Levites would go and have to build the tabernacle all over again. And once they build it, then the Lord would come back down in it. And he would stay there until it was time for them to move. What verse are we?
We're at verse 37.
Go ahead and read.
But if the cloud were not taken up, then they journeyed not till the day that it was taken up. For the cloud of the Lord was upon the tabernacle by day, and fire was on it by night, in the sight of all the house of Israel throughout all their journeys.
Now, so that's what happened. As long as that cloud stood there, sisters and brothers, as long as the tabernacle was over the cloud, or either at night it was a pillar of fire over that tabernacle, brother, the Lord was there. Israel didn't bother to move. He was there among the Israelites, sisters and brothers. But something happened. While Moses was in the mountain getting the commandments and the other stuff that God was telling him to do, Aaron them and Israel sinned against God. Aaron made this golden calf. And when he did, that angered the Lord so until the Lord said, hey, I can't stay among you people, because I will break out and kill every one of you. Let me go and show you what I'm talking about. Let's go into Exodus, the 33rd chapter. Let's back up now. Exodus chapter 33. Because after the Lord had put all that together and was dwelling among this people, still, I'm going to show you, Israel sinned against him. And the Lord said, hey, I got to pull up. Because if I don't, I'm going to kill every one of you. 33:1. Go ahead and read.
And the Lord said unto Moses, depart and go up hence, thou and the people which thou hast brought up out of the land of Egypt, unto the land which I swear to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, saying, unto thy seed will I give it.
He said, I want you to go on now and go on to the land. I didn't promise it to your father, so I'm going to still give you this land, because I promised Abraham I'm going to give it to his seed. Go ahead and read.
And I will send an angel before thee, and I will drive out the Canaanite, the Amorite, and the Hittite, and the Perizzite, the Hivite, and the Jebusite, unto a land flowing with milk and honey.
Go ahead.
For I will not go up in the midst of thee, for thou art a stiff-necked people, lest I consume thee in the way.
He said, look, now I'm going to give you this land. I'm going to drive out all of these sons of Canaan. But I'm not going to go up among you, because you are a stiff-necked people, lest I consume you in the way. The Lord said, I can't stay here because these people are hard-headed, and they talk crazy, and they do crazy things. And now Aaron had made this calf. He said, I got to get among you, because my anger will come upon you, and I will destroy every one of you. Go ahead and read.
And when the people heard these evil tidings, they mourned, and no man did put on him his ornaments.
Now, why didn't they? Now, always when Israel do something, mess up, God said what he going to do to them, then they start mourning. Then everyone didn't put on the ornaments. That's them gold and stuff. We always wore a bunch of gold. So and with the earrings, that's what they made the pagan calf out of. So they wouldn't put that stuff on now because they're scared. But the Lord said, I got to go. And once he did that, let's see what Moses did. Let's go into Exodus 30. What verse are we?
Skip down.
Skip down to verse 7. Skip down to verse 7. Let's see what Moses had to do here. Go ahead and read.
And Moses took the tabernacle and pitched it without the camp.
So Moses took the tabernacle and he pushed it without the camp. Go ahead and read.
Afar off from the camp.
Afar off from the camp. Because he heard what the Lord said. I can't go among you now. I'm going to leave an angel here, but I can't go among you, because if I do, I will break out and kill every one of you. I'll consume you. So he put it far away from the camp. Go ahead and read.
and called it the Tabernacle of the congregation.
And that's what it was called from that time on. But it was called, from that time, he called it the Tabernacle of the congregation. That's where it was called. But it was way away from camp. Go ahead and read.
And it came to pass that every one which sought the Lord went out unto the tabernacle of the congregation, which was without the camp.
So anybody that sought the Lord, they had to leave that polluted camp and go out to the tabernacle, which was far away from it. That sounds familiar, don't it?
Yes, it does.
Because you got all these polluted churches that's supposed to be the churches of God, but when you go in and listen to the conversation, if you want to find God, you got to get way away from that.
That's right.
Just like Jesus was crucified outside the camp because the camp was polluted, sisters and brothers. But go ahead and read.
And it came to pass when Moses went out into the tabernacle that all the people rose up and stood every man at his tent door and looked after Moses until he was gone into the tabernacle.
So when Moses went to talk to the Lord from that time on and get instruction, everybody stood up and looked at Moses. And they saw Moses going getting his orders from God. But still they rebelled against him. This people had the same rebellious spirit. Go ahead and read verse 9.
And it came to pass as Moses entered into the tabernacle, the cloudy pillar descended and stood at the door of the tabernacle, and the Lord talked with Moses.
So now Moses went up, and then when the cloud come down, Moses talked with the Lord that was in the tabernacle. And he did that until the Lord stopped dwelling among men. So now the Lord he didn't make a vertical move. He didn't go to heaven at this time. What he did was he made a lateral move. He got outside of the camp, but he still remained on the earth, sisters and brothers. And Israel still had access to him. And Moses would go out there and get his commandments from that day forward, and then he'd come back. We got other scripture where he can show you where Moses heard the voice of the Lord, speaking from above the mercy seat in between the cherubims. But we can't read everything. But now, that camp, that tabernacle that they had, sisters and brothers, they kept that until Solomon built the temple. Now we're going to go and have a look at this, because David wanted to build his temple, but the Lord didn't want David to build it because he had killed a lot of people. But until his temple was built, we had the tabernacle to go to and still communicate with God. That's what these churches are supposed to be representing. You go to the tabernacle and you communicate with God. You get your orders from God. But now when you go to the church now, you get everything but the orders of God. They don't want to keep his commandments. Nobody teach the commandments. They don't teach the dietary law. And you go on Sunday, you don't honor the Sabbath day. In fact, he can't be in that tabernacle now. But that's where you're supposed to go, to get your instruction. That's why you go to church. But until Solomon built the temple, the tabernacle remained among Israel. Let's go into 2 Samuel, the 7th chapter, and look at this, because David is the one that really had the mind to build this temple. But the Lord didn't want David to do it. And we're going to show you why. The 7th chapter of Samuel. 2 Samuel chapter 7. 2 Samuel chapter 7. And we're going to start reading at verse 1. 2 Samuel 7 and 1. Because the Lord has explained it all, sisters and brothers. All we got to do is read this book. Ain't no room for I feel, or I believe, I see it this way. Ain't but one way to see it. That's the way it's written. Second Samuel chapter 7, verse 1. Okay, read it.
And it came to pass when the king sat in his house, and the Lord had given him rest round about from all his enemies, that the king said unto Nathan the prophet, See now, I dwell in the house of cedar, but the ark of God dwelleth within curtains.
Now, why David? Now David, the Lord had beat down all of David's enemies before him. David had him a nice house of cedar that he had built for himself, but he got to looking at that tabernacle out there. He said, now, I'm living in a nice house of cedar, but the tabernacle of the Lord, which represents where the Lord's supposed to be, is in curtains. Still a tent from the time of Moses. Go ahead and read.
And Nathan said to the king, Go, do all that is in thine heart, for the Lord is with thee.
Now, that was presumptuous of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you can't assume that the Lord wants you to do something until the Lord give you instruction. But he seen that the Lord and did everything for David. Well, this one thing wasn't for David to do. So, but the prophet thought, hey, David, go ahead. The Lord is with you. Do anything you want to do. Mm-hmm. No, that ain't always the case. Go ahead and read.
And it came to pass that night that the word of the Lord came unto Nathan, saying, Go and tell my servant David, thus saith the Lord.
Go ahead.
Shalt thou build me a house for me to dwell in? Whereas I have not dwelt in any house since the time that I brought up the children of Israel out of Egypt, even to this day, but have walked in the tent and in the tabernacle.
He said, look, you going to build me a house? He said, look, I haven't dwelt in a house all the time, from Moses' time until you, David. But I have walked in the tent of the tabernacle among you. And he was. We just read that, didn't we?
Yes,
Go ahead and read.
In all the places wherein I have walked with all the children of Israel, spake I a word with any of the tribes of Israel, whom I commanded to feed my people Israel, saying, Why build ye not me a house of cedar?
He said, all the time I've been with you, I haven't asked him why you haven't built me a house of cedar like you living in, David. I haven't asked you that. Go ahead and read.
Now therefore so shalt thou say unto my servant David, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, I took thee from the sheepcote, from following the sheep, to be a ruler over my people, over Israel.
Go ahead.
And I was with thee whatsoever thou wentest, and have cut off all thine enemies out of thy sight, and have made thee a great name, like unto the name of the great men that are in the earth.
He said, look, David, I took you from being a shepherd. And I done cut down all your enemies, and I done made you a great man on this earth. Just like all the other great men. He said, but I ain't ready for you to do this yet. Because God has a point he needed to make. And look what he said now. Go ahead.
Moreover, I will appoint a place for my people Israel.
Wait a minute. David was the second king of Israel. Israel was established, sisters and brothers. Israel had no opposition. Remember, the Lord said he done beat down all of David's opposition. And David was in peace. He had not one enemy left that was scared that would come against him. But then he going to turn around and tell David, moreover, I will appoint a place for my people Israel. Look, they was already in their place.
That's right.
But no, the Lord is going to the future now, sisters and brothers, to let you know that Israel is not going to be here all the while. Because Israel is going to sin against him. He's going to get mad, and he's going to scatter Israel into all the four winds. But then after that, he's going to appoint a place for his people Israel when he return us. Go ahead and read.
And will plant them, that they may dwell in a place of their own, and move no more.
Ain't that something? I'm going to plant them, that they will dwell in a place of their own, in their own land, and ain't nobody going to move them no more. But remember now, he was telling David, the second king of Israel, with whom he have established his kingdom and removed all of his enemies. But now he's telling them, look, I'm going to make a place for my people, and I'm going to bring them, and I'm going to plant them, and ain't nobody going to move them anymore. He's talking about after return, after the disbursement of Israel and after return. This is future we talking here. Go ahead and read.
Neither shall the children of wickedness afflict them any more as before time.
He said, ain't nobody going to do them like they used to do them. Go ahead and read.
And as since the time that I commanded judges to be over my people Israel, and have caused thee to rest from all thine enemies, also the Lord telleth thee that he will make thee a house.
Wait a minute. One David sitting in his house of cedar?
Yes, he was.
All plush and everything. That's why he said, look, I'm in this nice house of cedar, And the Lord mercy seat in his covenant, which represented his presence, is in a tent of curtains. So what's the mean the Lord said, I'm going to build you a house? Sister and Brother David was already in his house, but not in his future house that is to come.
That's right.
We talking future here. Go ahead and read.
And when thy days be fulfilled, and thou shalt sleep with thy fathers,
go ahead.
I will set up thy seed after thee, which shall proceed out of thy bowels, and I will establish his kingdom.
Now, he said, when you go to bed, when you die, I'm going to set your seed up after you. And he going to build a kingdom. Read that again. What verse was that?
That was verse 12.
Go ahead and read.
And when thy days be fulfilled, and thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, I will set up thy seed after thee.
Go ahead.
Which shall proceed out of thy bowels, and I will establish his kingdom.
Now, right away, we think of Solomon. But remember, we talking future here, sister and brother.
Right.
Go ahead and read.
He shall build a house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever.
Look, Solomon ruled for 40 years.
That's it.
And his rulership ended ugly. Because God told him, because of what you've done, build all of these pagan gods to all of these strange and pagan women that you have took to wife. I'm going to take the kingdom from you, and I'm going to give it to Ephraim. And your seed ain't going to have but one tribe. I'm going to give to the tribe of Judah, and that is the tribe of Benjamin. Later on, Levi came back. But look, Solomon only ruled for 40 years, and his rulership ended ugly. Go ahead and read.
I will be his father, and he shall be my son.
Now, no time of Solomon Solomon was ever called the son of God. I'm going to be his father, and he shall be my son. Go ahead and read.
If he commit iniquity, I will chasten him with the rod of men and with the stripes of the children of men.
That's why I tell you in Isaiah 53rd chapter, with his stripes we are healed.
That's right.
The iniquity is not healed, but he took upon the iniquity of the people upon him, sisters and brothers. We're going to show you that this is talking Jesus. Even though I'm going to show you that Solomon, David thought he was talking about Solomon. Go ahead and read.
But my mercy shall not depart away from him.
But I ain't going to take my mercy from him.
As I took it from Saul, whom I put away before thee.
Go ahead.
And thine house and thy kingdom shall be established forever before thee. Thy throne shall be established forever.
Wait a minute, sisters and brothers. We're going to really examine this verse. He said, in thine what? Thine kingdom. Look at it. Shall be established before thee. How can his kingdom be established before he came along? When you use the word before, it is either before you came in existence or in your presence. So what he is telling David, I'm going to establish your kingdom in your presence. Because how can David have a kingdom before he have a kingdom? How can it be established if he is not there before his time?
Right.
But he said, look, I'm going to establish your kingdom before you, and that throne shall be established forever. That's a long time, sisters and brothers.
Yes, it is.
But still, David thought it was talking about Solomon, and I'm going to show you this. Let's go into 1 Chronicles, the 22nd chapter. 1 Chronicles chapter 22. Let's let you know, sisters and brothers, how blessed we are. We have all of the books. We are in the end time. We can go back and understand things that people in that time didn't understand. Even some things that Daniel wrote. When Daniel asked for the meaning, he said, close up the book, Daniel, until the time of the end. This is not for you. He said, then they shall run to and fro in the streets, and knowledge shall be increased. He said, but what you're going to do is, you close up the book, and what you're going to do is, you're going to die, and you're going to stand in your lot at the end of days. But this is not for you. So David didn't know that this was not talking about Solomon. That's the blessing of living in this end time and seeing the end of everything. Because we can see it, sisters and brothers.
Yes, we can.
1 Chronicles chapter 22, and we're going to start reading at verse 7, 22 and 7. Okay, go ahead.
And David said to Solomon, my son, as for me, it was in my mind to build a house unto the name of the Lord my God. But the word of the Lord came to me, saying, thou hast shed blood abundantly, and hast made great wars. Thou shalt not build a house unto my name, because thou hast shed much blood upon the earth in my sight.
So he said, look, I wanted to build a house, but the Lord had said, no, you can't do it because you got too much blood on your hand. But go ahead and read.
Behold, a son shall be born to thee, who shall be a man of rest. And I will give him rest from all his enemies round about. For his name shall be Solomon. And I will give peace and quietness unto Israel in his days.
Now, God said much more than that, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
And we saw what he was telling, what the prophet Nathan told David.
That's right.
But he didn't mention Solomon. He just your son. He said, son, that's going to come out of your loins. Go ahead and read.
He shall build a house for my name, and he shall be my son, and I will be his father, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom over Israel forever.
Now that let us know that he is talking about the same thing that Nathan told him. Because he said he should build a house for my name, and he shall be my son. In other words, he's going to be called the son of God, and I'm going to be his father. Solomon never wore that title, sisters and brothers, at no time.
No, he didn't.
In fact, God fell out with him because he built all them temples to them pagan gods. Go ahead and read. What verse?
Verse 11.
Go ahead.
Now, my son, the Lord be with thee, and prosper thou, and build the house of the Lord thy God, as he has said of thee.
Now, he said we're going to establish his throne forever, his kingdom over Israel forever. Solomon only lasted 40 years. So he told him, now, my son, the Lord is with you, build a house. And Solomon did that, sisters and brothers. However, let's see if Solomon fit the total profile that God gave of this son that he said is going to build a house and he's going to call a father, a son, and his son going to call him the father. Let's look at it and see if Solomon fit this profile. Let's go into Psalms, the 89th chapter. Psalm chapter 89. That's why, sisters and brothers, you have to keep reading this book. Here a little and there a little. Line upon line, precept upon precept. Psalms 89, and we're going to start reading at verse 3. Psalms 89 and verse 3. Okay, go ahead.
I have made a covenant with my chosen. I have sworn unto David my servant. Thy seed will I establish forever, and build up thy throne to all generations.
Now, we read that when he made that covenant, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
That's when David got ready to build a temple. He told him that. Skip down to verse 23 now. We're going to talk about this same seed. Verse 23. And go ahead.
And I will beat down his foes before his face, and plague them that hate him. But my faithfulness and my mercy shall be with him, and in my name shall his horn be exalted.
Now, he said, now, I'm going to beat down his enemy before him, and my mercy I'm not going to take away from him. That's why he told him if he commits sin. In other words, if somebody, when he's talking about when he took upon the sins of the people.
Right.
He said, but my mercy I'm not going to take away from him. And in my name shall his horn be exalted. In my name. That's telling me that whoever this guy is, he's going to have the name of the Lord. Go ahead and read.
I will set his hand also in the sea, and his right hand in the rivers.
Go ahead.
He shall cry unto me, thou art my Father, my God, and the rock of my salvation.
He said he's going to call me Father. Go ahead and read.
Also will make him my firstborn.
Also, I will make him my firstborn. Go ahead.
Higher than the kings of the earth.
Higher than the kings of the earth. Solomon is not God's firstborn. Jesus is God's firstborn, sisters and brothers. And when Jesus came on the scene, he did not come in his name. He told Moses in Exodus the 6th chapter, said, your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob have known me as God Almighty. But by my name, Jehovah, I was not known. So when he came in the flesh, he didn't come in the name of Jehovah. He came in his Father's name, which was Jesus. That's why it said, in my name shall his horn be exalted, and I will make him my firstborn. Let's go into Romans the 8th chapter. Romans the 8th chapter. Solomon did build a temple, but he wasn't talking Solomon here, sisters and brothers. Romans chapter 8, and we're going to start reading at verse 14. Romans 8, and we're going to start at verse 14. That's why you have to examine this scripture real closely and let it teach you. Don't you try and interpret or paraphrase. Let it teach you, because that is what it's for, sisters and brothers. It's just like you're going to school and you have a teacher, and he teach you, and you leave the room talking about something else. But where'd you get that conversation from? Where'd you get that doctrine from? Well, you know, when the Lord put it on my mind. But then the guy in there that you just left was not your teacher. He was just somebody standing before you making noise.
That's right.
If the book is your teacher, then you should read what's in the book. Romans 8 and verse 14. Because he said he's going to make him my firstborn higher than the kings of the earth. Go ahead and read.
For as many as are led by the Spirit of God, they are the sons of God. For ye have not received the spirit of bondage again of fear, but ye have received the spirit of adoption, whereby we cry, Abba, Father.
So as long as we're led by this word, then we are the son. That's spiritual son, sisters and brothers. And if we continue, we're going to make the adoption. And that adoption ain't talking about just a change in mind. So this is the ultimate adoption. Go ahead and skip down to verse 22 and go ahead.
For we know that the whole creation groaneth and travaileth in pain together until now.
So we all grown until now. So we would be the sons of God. Go ahead and read.
And not only they, but ourselves also, which have the first fruits of the Spirit, even we ourselves grown within ourselves, waiting for the adoption to witness the redemption of our body.
So the whole creation is waiting. And those of us that know God, we are growing within ourselves. And we are among the first fruit. And we are all waiting for the adoption. And what is that? It says, for the redemption of our body. In other words, this body is going to be fashioned like the Lord's body. It would be a spirit body, because God is a spirit being, and he is the Father of spirits. Skip down to verse 28. Verse 28 and go ahead.
And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God.
Because it said, if you love me, keep my commandments,
That's
didn't
right.
it?
That's
so
right.
As long as you love God, you're going to keep his commandments, and all things are going to work good for you. Go ahead and read.
To them who are the called according to his purpose. For whom he did foreknow, he also did predestinate to be conformed to the image of his Son.
Look, sisters and brothers. Those of us that has walked and kept his statutes and his law, he is going to change us into what he is. Because those of us that he knew us before time, we have been slated to be conformed to the image of his Son, which is Jesus. Go ahead and read.
That he might be the firstborn among many brethren.
That he might be the firstborn of many brethren. So when he said, I'm going to make him my firstborn, he's going to be the firstborn from the dead, sisters and brothers. And everybody that's ever died and rise again and live forever, they will not be able to surpass him, because the Lord had already said to David, of your seed In my name shall his horn be exalted, and I'm going to make him my firstborn, and he's going to be higher or greater than the kings of the earth. So that's what he's talking about. He's talking about the son that's going to come and build this temple. He was not talking about Solomon, even though Solomon built the first temple. Let's go and look at it. Let's go into Chronicles, the 3rd chapter. Chronicles chapter 3. We just want to let you know, sisters and brothers, that the Lord had told David about all of this. David thought that he was talking about his son for a minute. That's 2nd Chronicles, the 3rd chapter. Did I say that?
No.
2nd Chronicles chapter 3. But after all of that, sisters and brothers, the Lord was telling David, because he wanted David to understand that this temple that Solomon built is going to represent the temple that the seed that I'm talking about is going to dwell in. 2nd Chronicles chapter 3. And we're going to start reading at verse 1. Because a lot of people think we read, say, well, even though David said, and he said he's going to build me a temple, and he said his name shall be Solomon. Not the one whose kingdom is going to be established forever. That's why we had to read and show you all these, sisters and brothers. So you will understand that son that he's talking about going to come out his bow, that's come down through his lineage, is talking Jesus here. Because first thing he said, when he started talking to David, he said, I am going to appoint a place for my people Israel.
That's right.
And David was already in the place.
That's right.
So he started talking about after the disbursement of Israel and then the return of Israel. That is the time that he was talking about. Now we're going to start at 2nd Chronicles chapter 3 and verse 1. Go ahead and read.
Then Solomon began to build the house of the Lord at Jerusalem.
Now, so Solomon built the temple now. But this is not the one that he was talking about. But still he built the temple in Jerusalem. Go ahead and read.
In Mount Moriah, where the Lord appeared unto David his father, in the place that David had prepared in the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite.
So he built it there. But the Lord had first approached the Lord. That's why when the Lord, David built that site there after the Lord had killed 70,000 Israelites.
Mm-hmm.
He built that to appease the Lord. So he built the temple in the same place that David made, built an altar there, not a temple. Go ahead and read.
And he began to build in the 2nd day of the 2nd month in the 4th year of his reign.
Now, he started to build a temple, but then Solomon finished the temple. Let's go into 2nd Chronicles, the 5th chapter now. 2nd Chronicles chapter 5. Because Solomon put it all together like David told him. Go ahead and read.
Thus all the work that Solomon made for the house of the Lord was finished. And Solomon brought in all the things that David his father had dedicated, and the silver and the gold, and all the instruments put he among the treasures of the house of God.
Go ahead.
Then Solomon assembled the elders of Israel, and all the heads of the tribes, the chief of the fathers of the children of Israel, unto Jerusalem, to bring up the ark of the covenant of the Lord out of the city of David, which is Zion.
See now, city of David, which was Zion, that's where the tabernacle of the congregation was.
That's right.
But David built this in the the temple in the threshing floor of Onan. He didn't build it in the city of David, sisters and brothers. Most people don't understand that. So now, once they got the temple, they brought in silver and gold, and then they brought all of the same stuff that was in the tabernacle of the congregation. The mercy seat, the veil, the altar of incense, the ark of the covenant, all the same stuff. Go ahead and read.
Wherefore all the men of Israel assembled themselves unto the king in the feast which was in the 7th month.
Now, this assembly was made during the month of Tabernacle. This is the feast here. Go ahead and read.
And all the elders of Israel came, and the Levites took up the ark. And they brought up the ark in the tabernacle of the congregation.
Go ahead.
And all the holy vessels that were in the tabernacle. These did the priests and the Levites bring up.
Now, what is tabernacle, sisters and brothers? Do you know the other name for tabernacle? is in gathering. This didn't take place, and Solomon didn't finish during the Feast of Tabernacle for nothing. Because when the Lord make his in gathering, that is the time when he's going to gather all Israel, when he's going to come back.
That's right.
All this is telling a bigger story than you can see. It ain't no accident that he had it at this time. Go ahead and read.
Verse 6. Also King Solomon and all the congregation of Israel that was assembled unto him before the ark sacrificed sheep and oxen, which could not be told nor numbered for multitude.
They made a great sacrifice. Go ahead.
And the priest brought in the ark of the covenant of the Lord unto his place, to the oracle of the house, into the most holy place, even under the wings of the cherubim.
So they took everything there, the mercy seat, the cherub angels, and everything, and put it in the temple. Skip down to verse 13. Verse 13 and go ahead.
It came even to pass as the trumpeters and singers were as one, to make one sound to be heard in praising and thanking the Lord. And when they lifted up their voice with the trumpets and cymbals and instruments of music,
go ahead,
and praised the Lord, saying, for he is good, for his mercy endureth forever.
Go ahead.
That then the house was filled with the cloud, even the house of the Lord.
Same thing that happened when they finished the tabernacle of the congregation, sister and brother. They made sacrifice and they were playing music and praising the Lord. All of a sudden, that same cloud that was the days of Moses, then when the Lord was in it, it came and it filled the temple. Just like it did in the day when they put the tent up. Go ahead and read.
So that the priest could not stand and minister by reason of the cloud, for the glory of the Lord had filled the house of God.
Same thing it was when he came down in Moses' day. They couldn't stay in there now because the glory of the Lord, that means the Lord came down in the cloud and he was in that house that Solomon had built, sister and brother. The Lord was there. Then Solomon made a great big prayer. And he prayed to the Lord that, look, this house that I built, if anybody pray in this house, hear their prayer. And he prayed that even if the people get scattered and they pray and they're in their enemy's land and they pray toward this house, hear him. He even said if a stranger pray toward this house, hear him. And the Lord heard him, sisters and brothers. Let's go into 2 Chronicles, the 7th chapter now. I can't read it all because we ain't got the time, but we're going to read just a little of it. Because when they made that great sacrifice, the Lord rained down fire and ate that sacrifice up.
Yes, he did.
To let them people here. Then he moved into the house. 7 and 1. Go ahead and read.
Now when Solomon had made an end of praying, the fire came down from heaven.
Go ahead.
And consumed the burnt offering and the sacrifices. And the glory of the Lord filled the house.
See, the Lord was there. When he got through with it, they was praying and dancing and playing instruments. The Lord, that cloud came down and the Lord entered into the house. Then the Lord brought down fire from heaven and consumed the animal sacrifice, sister and brother. Because he said they had so many that the Lord told he couldn't use the altar. I can't read it all, but the other scripture let you know that they had to put a place in the courtway of the temple to sacrifice all of them animals. The Lord, because they said they didn't have no number, it was so many. The Lord caused fire to come from heaven and consume the sacrifice. And the glory of the Lord filled the house because he was already there. Go ahead and read.
Verse 2.
Go ahead.
And the priest could not enter into the house of the Lord because the glory of the Lord had filled the Lord's house.
Because he was there just like he was in the tabernacle. The Lord is giving you a message. I want to be among you. Stop misbehaving so I can.
That's right.
Because if you don't and I come among you, I'm going to break out on you and I am going to consume you. Skip down to verse 12. Verse 12 and go ahead.
And the Lord appeared to Solomon by night and said unto him,
Go ahead.
I have heard thy prayer and have chosen this place to myself for a house of sacrifice.
See now, Solomon made that request. If the people come into his house and pray here, if the people get scattered abroad in their enemy's land and pray toward this house, him. Even if the stranger pray toward this house, him. Now the Lord tell you, look here, I have heard your prayer. What verse was that, 12?
Yes.
Skip down to verse 15. Did you finish 12?
Yes, I did.
Verse 15 and go ahead.
Now mine eyes shall be open, and mine ears attended to the prayer that is made in this place.
Now, sisters and brothers, we know the temple's torn down, but we know that God can hear you no matter where you facing. But that's why we face Jerusalem, though, sisters and brothers. I said, why not hedge the bet? Because he said with his own mouth that his eyes and his ears would be on this place. Ain't that what we just read?
Yes, it is.
Go ahead and read.
But now I have chosen and sanctified this house, that my name may be there forever, and mine eyes and mine heart shall be there perpetually.
He said, perpetually and forever. That means no break.
That's right.
That's why when Daniel opened his window and prayed, that got him thrown into the lion's den, I am sure he was praying toward Jerusalem, sisters and brothers, because he was scattered.
That's right.
But he went and he prayed, just like we do every Sabbath, just like I do every day when I get on my knees. I pray toward the temple that the Lord built in Israel in the threshing floor of Atay. I pray toward that, sisters and brothers, because the Lord said, I will hear you. In fact, this is so important until the Lord had that, even the Lord himself said it before the temple was built. Let's go into Psalm, the 5th chapter. Psalm chapter 5. This is what grabbed me when I read it. I said, wait a minute. The temple hadn't even been built at this time. So what is this? What it is a strong message. Maybe you should listen to it. That's why we pray toward this, sisters and brothers. Psalm chapter 5. Remember now, David wrote this psalm. David was dead when Solomon built the temple.
That's right.
But David is the one that wrote the psalm. Okay.